Welcome to the Pawn Sacrifice channel and the 924S turbo build. This is probably almost about a month later after the last video when this was actually running. It was generally going to be a plan that I suspected this would need to be coming out again. So what's happened? I spent quite a lot of time over the last month actually going around and trying to sort out little things like the different bits of the coolant system, leaks from the oil system, and a whole bunch of other things. Having let this all settle, so the engine sitting on the mounts on the cross member, that's basically the way that it's settled down. Is I now need to clearance the transmission tile again, and the bell housing, so I need to get that sorted. There's still a few coolant bits and other things that I want to get sorted out. I've found some stuff that I need to do with the timing belt and gears and what have you. Yeah, there's just a whole load of things that just needs tweaking slightly, redoing, or doing better. And there's a couple of bits which I'm probably going to be changing around as well. So this is kind of what's been going on. I've also taken advantage of the fact that everything's out to go through and sort out the engine air bit. So I've trimmed off some of the pieces which I just don't need anymore, and they're just cluttering up the engine bay. Cleaned everything out, and what I'm going to do is just get some paint on. I needed to fill a hole and stuff, but I'll do that in a separate video. So I've been filming things while I've been away, and while I've been working, I've just not actually gotten around to putting the video out. So what we're going to do is have a bit of a look at the sump, because that needs sorting, rather unsurprisingly with my welding. So some's going to be looked at, and then I'll look at a couple of things with the coolant and then the timing belt, and then I'll probably clear off again, but hopefully I'll be back a little sooner next time. So yep, this is me redoing the intro because the original one that I did was all a bit glum with the way that I was feeling about what was going on. But yeah, so anyway, hopefully a bit of an update. Enjoy. With the engine out and away from the crossbar being tight up against the sump, I've been able to determine that quite a bit of the oil that's leaking is through some little holes in the sump itself. And then there's also one on the oil drain. So I'm just going to take this off, and then I'll show you on the bench what that looks like, and hopefully get this out of the way a bit, because the room in here to actually get anything done at the moment is just ridiculously small. Original sump, well, I say original sump, the remanufactured sump that I made, and the new one which is going to be doing the making this time. Couple of things to note. Well, I'll show you the leaks and things that are on this. Having seen the method on Project Binky, what I did was plugged up the original sump the best I could, the one that was actually on the car, and then filled this one with water, poured the water in until the other one was at capacity, or pretty much the same capacity as this one was, and then measured what I've got left, which is just under half a litre, probably half a litre with spillage taken into account. So that means that I can take half a litre out of this and then still have the same oil capacity as the original factory sump. The reason that that's important is I added a oil cooler to the front of the car. And one of the main reasons for doing that, in all the messing around with having to do the sandwich plate and take off and everything else, was that I wanted to add extra capacity. And so there was extra oil going in the lines, and then obviously however much oil was going to be sitting in the cooler itself, which all seems great. The problem I've got is from where I'm mounting it and from where I'm having to run the hoses, I'm getting a massive airlock going from the oil cooler back to the engine point. So what I might do is look to take that out, and repurpose it for the gearbox, which will be done later on after the car's road legal and running. So yeah, if I can, I may reverse what I've done there. So apologies for everyone that watched me making brackets for that. But we'll see. So yeah, let's have a quick look and I'll kind of show you the couple things or the few bits that were wrong with this and kind of why I'm starting from scratch rather than trying to completely redo everything or fix this one. So this actually, in some places, worked quite well, and looking back at that now, some of it is actually looking pretty good, but there was a spot around here which is not unsurprising looking at it where it was leaking. There was another bit around one of these corners. I couldn't see this when the engine was in place because it was just leaking straight onto it was so tight to the cross member. And then I think it was around there somewhere as well. I could mark out the relevant bits and just grind them back. But the inside's a bit of a mess as well. The main reason for redoing this is the drain plug. So where I kind of fitted that in line, put that on because that's a nice flat surface, and it was only when I came to put this on the car that I realised that I'd kind of blocked off one of the bolts that was going to go through, so I then couldn't get the bolt in, the hex bolt through there and into the bottom of something. Now, ironically, that wasn't leaking at all. It was around, I think, one of the corners, and I just put a bit of gasket on there. But yeah, for that part, that's absolutely fine. But I will move this across that one. I mean, you can't really see the oil leaks, but that was also leaking a bit as well. I could tighten it up further, but I think probably the best bet is I've ordered a weld-on fitting, which I'm going to put on there. And yeah, so that'll probably just move across a bit to, I think, around there, so that I'm not obstructing either of those. So yeah, that's on the way. But in the meantime, I'm going to mark this out. I was dreading the thought of trying to manoeuvre the engine back in, and then it occurred to me that I didn't need to. Plate is in, obviously. I think I'm going to do what everyone else has been doing and just stitch. This is now sealed and watertight and hopefully oil tight. So essentially what I found I was doing was, as I was grinding this back just to make the surfaces a bit smoother, I was taking too much off, or the angle wasn't quite right, and I was basically making it too thin. One of the other things I needed to look at, which is just a nightmare when the car's in, the engine's in the car, is I need to take this off. The O-ring that I've got set up isn't working because the water's been leaking out of there. So I'm going to look at putting the other one on, and I'm just going to use a sealant, gasket sealant, which will go in there. And I'm going to do the same with the one in here. That's already been done with gasket sealant because that failed quite spectacularly first time. So that's all coming out, and yeah, that's all going to be resealed now just because it's a lot easier. One of the next little jobs, and just so that I can have a bit of success, is I need to have a look. I think I need to turn this wheel round because I think I've got it on the wrong way, just for where the belt is sitting. It's not going to go wandering off, but I think it's probably going to cause it to not wear evenly. So this is actually the Porsche 924944 flywheel lock, which just about fits. Right, this is a bit weird. So I've turned it round so that it's the right way, or I think it's the right way, so it's kind of not sitting so far proud. It's in line with the belt, it's in line with all of the other belts, or the other pulleys. And yeah, the location dowel is worn slightly, which is a bit weird. So it rotates freely around, which is a nightmare. But also so TDC was lined up with the notch there, but on here that's the TDC marker. So although it's in a different place, if I turn this round, it lines up again with everything with where I set the belt, but that way around it doesn't do anything. So I think I'm going to have a look at getting another pulley. So that's that, for the time being at least. I'm in some ways I'm quite glad that I've done this, because it's kind of peace of mind with a few things. Just obviously, as I said, going to be redoing some of this, which is a bit of a nuisance, but there we go. So hopefully it shouldn't take too much longer for me to be getting stuff out, even if that's just the redoing the engine bay. I've also got the front axles out completely. That's been cleaned up. The main reason for it coming out is one of the shock absorbers has blown slightly, and that was flagged in the last MOT, so I wanted to get that done, so I'm replacing those. So I thought, well, all of that is out, I'll just get the whole thing, and that's kind of escalated in some of the suspension stuff, but again, that's all being done as a separate video. So yeah, quite a lot in the pipeline, and hopefully it should be coming together and we should be getting some stuff more regularly and accelerating towards actually taking this thing down to get it MOT'd. For those of you outside of the UK, the MOT is essentially the test that we have to do on our cars, where they go, yes, this isn't going to blow up, crash and whatever, it's safe to drive. So yeah, that should be fun. I'm hoping it'll be okay, because the engine side of it doesn't, they test it for emissions, but other than that, it doesn't really enter into it. It's just the general condition of the car, brakes and everything else. So, well, there we go. Anyway, see you soon.